Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court was established in 1978 under the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, FISA. It was supposedly created to oversee requests for surveillance warrants against foreign spies in the United States. Allegedly, the court's purpose is to protect the nation from threats while safeguarding civil liberties, which is the exact opposite of what it's done. FISA was enacted in response to the revelation of widespread abuses by the FBI and the CIA in the 1970s. These abuses involved illegal surveillance of U.S. citizens, including political figures and activists. According to the government, the court was designed to prevent such abuses by providing a judicial check on government surveillance activities. Quite ironic. The FISA court judges are appointed by the Chief Justice of the United States, and they come from at least 7 of the U.S. judicial circuits. The court operates in secrecy to protect national security interests. Its primary function is to review and approve or deny applications for electronic surveillance, physical searches, and other investigative actions for foreign intelligence purposes. What we've seen with our very eyes over the last 2 decades since 9/11 and the Patriot Act is the red herring known as national security, effectively serving as an arm of the deep state CIA and corporatist bureaucrats. The FISA court has been an invaluable weapon for those who would destroy our country, as we saw firsthand with the Russia collusion hoax. Today, Friday, April 12th, the House of Representatives had a chance to put an end to one of the national security state's most effective tools. Guess what? They didn't. Instead, they tried to claim this is a win of sorts because it's only going to be renewed for 2 years and not 5. Here's the kicker. House Speaker Mike Johnson broke the tie. It was 12-12, and he broke it. So guess what? The surveillance state we've been living under, where our government spies on U.S. citizens without warrant, can wiretap, track your texts, track your emails. You might not ever even know about it. Actually, you will never know about it. And they can hold this data in perpetuity. And when the time comes, say you were at January 6th, the insurrection. Well, guess what? FBI agent shows up to your door. You were a 65-year-old, 70-year-old grandmother spending time with her grandkids. Here comes the FBI knocking on your door. You're going to go to prison. We're going to book you. We're going to detain you. And you'll get to go back home, but you'll wait for your court date only to get sentenced to prison. Never have broken a law in your life, at least none that mattered. To sit in a prison cell or a jail cell, potentially. It's hard to even imagine. And we know, we have receipts, we keep these things. Republicans sided with Democrats, a large number of them. We've got the list, and we'll be looking at it here in just a minute, but I think it's important to remember in this country what we are supposed to stand for, which is freedom. Freedom from tyranny is what this country was founded upon. And in 1776, we gained our independence from the crown. So what we have effectively now is really unelected bureaucrats in our government agencies that have an unmitigated ability to get whatever they want, whenever they want, and stonewall our president back in 2016 to 2020. So I want you to know what's truly, truly shocking is the number of times FISA was used, FISA warrants were issued, the FISA court issued a FISA warrant. How many times Section 702 was used on United States citizens? Between 2020 and early 2021, the FBI improperly used Section 702 almost 300,000 times in searches that targeted January 6 suspects, racial justice protesters, namely from the BLM protests, and other American citizens, according to documents from the FISA court. This is a shadow entity, hidden from the public eye. Citizens don't have any idea when these warrants or when these requests are made, when they're being spied on, essentially and effectively. This is a shadow entity that has virtually no oversight, very similar to the CIA. Uh, why did we not put a stop to it? Well, I think this is the Uniparty. This is how they operate. And it's what we have to look forward to for the next 2 years. Now, our beloved Donald Trump addressed this with Mike Johnson right behind him earlier. We'll look at it here in just a second. But it truly is scary. And they will make up anything they can to keep these phony authoritarian laws and these phony authoritarian measures to get what they want when they want in place so long as as long as they can. So Charlie Kirk, this is incredible because back during the Durham, well, in the period of time for the Durham report and when it was getting released in all of these sham investigations, this is a Fox News segment Charlie Kirk and his team dug up that he said was memory hold. But how many times I just showed you the FISA was used to spy on and surveil citizens. It's so shocking. But this Fox News segment was during the time where this information was being exposed. This is all following the years of Russia collusion, the hoax that they would never shut up about. They went on constantly about Russia this, Russia that, and we figure out after many years, even those who were asleep ended up figuring out that it was not Russia. In fact, it was Hillary Clinton who was in cahoots with Russia. And the corruption goes so deep. FISA is just a mechanism for the most corrupt actors to stay in power. So watch this Fox News report here. 2021, the exact number of times the FBI abused FISA in 2021, 278,000 times. That's the equivalent of 8 times per FBI employee. How do they have time for this? The answer to that is they don't. Essentially, they have artificial intelligence. They have computers skimming and scanning every single thing that you have and that you do, and it flags things that they deem inappropriate. That could be a national security threat. This is so reminiscent of the Patriot Act. Something supposed to protect us, used to hurt us and push us further into the totalitarian abyss. So watch this. And no one that knows anything sees this as a surprise. It's on Fox News. We've known about these practices since the early 2000s. And it got far worse during the Obama administration, which we could all look at pretty objectively and say was where America was overtly being pushed and destroyed from inside, pushed towards globalism and destruction, divisiveness in perpetuity being pushed by the White House. This is no surprise. Now, notice the name here, J. Edgar Hoover, FBI building. The entire agency is built on clandestine surveillance and clandestine activities. Yeah, so that's really all you got to see there. Considering what's really funny is towards the end, Christopher Ray and all of the rest of them, they acted outraged. This is horrible. I can't believe it. This is awful. This is un American. Well, guess what, dumbass? You're the one doing it. You know it's happening, but it's virtue signaling, it's pathological lying, it's the mind of a psychopath. You don't have to be one to see the activities. And to call it like it is, it's straightforward. To say that these people aren't psychopaths is to say they're just really stupid and they believe the shit that they say. It's quite simple. So Donald Trump, with the esteemed Mike Johnson, who, if they're playing 5D chess, by all means, continue. But it doesn't seem that way because there's an element to 5D chess where you just have to stop for a minute. Democrats have already hung themselves. They've been given enough rope, if we're talking 5D chess, to have lost the election. We've lost so many innocent lives. We've had innocent 15-year-old girls sexually assaulted and left disabled if they weren't already disabled. There have been too many innocent lives lost. There are too many hundreds of thousands of people, frankly, dying of fentanyl overdoses. To have allowed this to happen for the sake of 5D chess, I don't think that that's going to be a component here. There's an element of human lives or saving human lives that is more important than playing the game of politics. And yes, this is on the global scale. We've got to save the world, sure, but Mike Johnson, as far as the border goes, as far as FISA goes, with this, again, Mike Johnson broke the tie. This is no more. Section 702 is gone. It's gone. He made that decision. Rep. Anna Paula Luna actually has pushed this out, and you'll see here in just a moment. I'll pull it up. Push this out. We'll look in a second. I can't remember the name of what she did, but it's a kind of a landmark approach to preventing this from being drawn out any further and getting extended. So Trump calls it like it is. We know he does it. Yeah. And again, 5D chess be damned. In this case, the country is in shambles. The illegal aliens coming across with no action being taken. We're seeing Mayorkas in his impeachment hearings. Our country is crumbling in front of our eyes. Our infrastructure, our travel. Uh, there's not a component of our country and its infrastructure left untouched by these sick, depraved people in power. I won't even say Democrats because they're all the same. It's one party. So we got to reflect though and think just for a second on the history of FISA, the Patriot Act, and corruption in our government, what we would consider the deep state. And I hate that term because, well, Vivek has talked about it, the managerial class, but I hate the term the deep state because that's the colloquial term for our bureaucrats, the bureaucratic, the police state of power-hungry bureaucrats, which is what President Truman said about the CIA when it was created after signing the National Security Act. Who would have thought? But I hate the deep state term because it's far more comprehensive and it's far deeper than just a deep state. To say it's in the United States, it's people who are bought off, and it's bunch of corporatists. That's surely true, but what they did to Trump in 2016, leading up to the election, after the election, the deep state, I just think the New World Order is a far more appropriate term, considering it is a global cabal. The cabal is a far better term, in my opinion, than the deep state, because it's far more sinister than the term deep state implies. There's a spiritual element to all of this. So the cabal, I would love if that term was used in these conversations from now on. Now, I don't make those decisions, but to look at what happened in 2016, this is thanks to FISA. Trump just mentioned it. They spied on my campaign. You know that, right? Well, we do. People who care about this country. So I think it would serve us well to cover, or at least reflect on it. If you don't know the nitty gritty, we can cover that in another video. But high level, how FISA was used, this isn't America. This is a banana republic. Trump's being prosecuted in the very same fashion today and for the last year as he was during his presidency. How can you get something done with these investigations going on, and then deep state cabal actors put in posts and positions of power beside him that, unbeknownst to him, are working against him the whole time? So April 1st, 2016, this is, wow, 8 years ago, almost to the day. Hillary Clinton hired, and again, this is 7 months before the election, 7 months, 4 days, hired Fusion GPS through various fronts. Fusion GPS is very important. The Clinton presidential campaign and DNC, whose financial affairs the Clinton campaign controlled, Clinton designated Mark E. Elias, her personal lawyer, and DNC general counsel through the law firm of Perkins Coie as payee. Now, Mark Elias, that law firm, Perkins Coie, that is a very notorious law firm and a very notorious lawyer. These people are the scum of the earth. Truthfully, the scum of the earth. So, additionally, Perkins Coie employed former Obama White House chief legal counselor Robert Bauer. When Fusion founder Glenn Simpson was subpoenaed by the Senate Intelligence Committee, Simpson claimed attorney-client privilege to cover up the relationships. These people are all in bed together. It's no secret, but if we did do a deep dive on this, there's 100 videos out there. When you start to see how deep the web is, it is so mind-boggling, because there's not a person left out. If they are a bought and paid for shill, they've got this attorney or these attorneys and these people funding them. It's anything but what America should be. And these are the people running our country. So here's where things start to get to the FISA stuff. Perkins Coie paid Fusion GPS a total of $1 million, 1.02, on behalf of Hillary Clinton for the bogus Steele dossier. The dossier was passed off to mainstream journalists as an authentic KGB document and used by the Obama Department of Justice to secure Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act warrants against domestic opponents. Despite the Democrats' and media narrative that Fusion GPS was hired by a Republican initially, former MI6 operative Christopher Steele was not hired by Fusion GPS until 2 months after the Republican client quit and the DNC and Clinton campaign hired Fusion GPS. So the Steele dossier is entirely the paid product of Democrat clients that were then put into the hands of U.S. foreign intelligence gathering, U.S. foreign intelligence gathering apparatus. So, moving forward, late June 2016, after former President Bill Clinton's secret meeting with Attorney General Loretta Lynch on the airport tarmac in Phoenix, the Justice Department sought FISA warrants to eavesdrop on Michael Flynn, Paul Manafort, Carter Page, and George Papadopoulos. Earlier reports listed Donald Trump, Carter Page, Paul Manafort, and Boris Epstein. The FISA court denied the initial request. It is improbable that the Attorney General would act on her own against the presidential nominee of another party without consulting President Obama. Simultaneously, Peter Strzok, So Christopher Steele, Lisa Page, Peter Strzok of the Obama FBI Counterintelligence Division met with Steele and received a preliminary draft of Steele dossier. Former Trump campaign associate Carter Page flew to Moscow in early July to deliver the graduation commencement speech at the new economic school, an honor President Obama held in 2009. This is not a foreign asset, guys. We know this. But the FBI and DOJ used Carter Page's trip as pretext to seek a FISA warrant, which was initially rejected. After whitewashing the Hillary Clinton investigation, Strzok signed the documents initiating an FBI counterintelligence investigation into the Trump campaign. So the web starts to get weaved through requesting FISA warrants, denial, and then continuing to add to their inventory of completely bogus stories so that they could get the FISA warrant. These are all in the dark of the night, so nobody knows anything except for when Trump started calling out Obama for wiretapping him in his hotel. And then you get to the point where this makes you wonder, why? Why would the Republicans not reject this outright? There's only one reason, and it's not because they've put checks and balances in place. It is because the national security state, the shadow government that truly controls this country, told them you can't. We've got dirt on you. We got this blackmail. You don't allow us to extend this, and you're done. Your political life is over. That, and they benefit from having the ability to blacklist, get rid of adversaries and supporters of Donald Trump, his campaign. Who knows? This is not the first time that would happen. So here's the list. And I think we need to notice one very specific name. You see this? At least Stefanik. Dan Crenshaw. He's been exposed in the last year. We thought he was an American-loving patriot, a veteran, for far too long. Dan Crenshaw, Elise Stefanik, and Maria Salazar. Well, I think that these people have told us all we need to know. So, in closing, today was a massive loss for America, citizens, and the people, but God is in control. God has a plan. These people will continue to push and further their agenda. We know that nothing's going to stop them from being self-serving psychopaths, but what it does do is it exposes those who would oppose our freedom and liberty. So long as this information gets spread and shared, we have a chance. And November 5th comes, the SAFE Act. We're going to be covering that today too, covering it later today. I'm recording this video after midnight. So I'm going to cover the SAFE Act. That is huge because that's voter ID law federally. So November 5th comes, this country is doing a 180. Big loss for freedom today. Big win for exposure of deep state cabal actors. And so if you wouldn't mind, if you're on YouTube, like, subscribe, comment, share the video. Trying to do what we can. If you're on X, repost it, do whatever you want to do. We'll be making another video as always tomorrow. And have a good night if you're watching this late. I hope you enjoyed the video. We'll be back at it tomorrow.